You were talking about your brothers coming back because there was a lot of people that didn't come back.
Well, my youngest brother, Ryan, was in Patton's army over in Germany. And he liked Patton as a leader. Where Harold was over in Hawaii. He was in Hawaii for 3 years and never got sent to one of the little islands. He said his name came up to go down under, they called it. That was be sent to that little islands. But he said every time before he even knew his name was on the list, it had been taken off. And he said his, whoever his boss was would take his name off because he wanted him there to work on the airplanes that came in that needed work.
And his name was Hardy?
And that he was a good hand to work on the airplanes and dependable, where some of the others weren't. They told him when he signed up for mechanical school that he couldn't make it. But the first examination, there was 66 people that couldn't make it, that fell out. And he was one that made it to the end and graduated. And he only had an 8th grade education. And that's why they had thought he couldn't make it because he didn't have the education. Instead of the 66 that dropped out, 39 was college graduates. So he felt pretty lucky. And he came home on a furlough from Hawaii. And Mother said, "Did you get sick on the ship?" And he said, well, he wasn't on the ship. They had flown him back. There was a plane coming back, so he caught a ride on it. And he said, but that was nothing. He said, nobody got sick riding a ship but old ladies and sissies. And he said he stayed 30 days. When he went back, he said, 2 days out from Seattle, that's where he got on the ship. 2 days out from Seattle, why, he was sick enough to die. And he said he sure thought about what he told Mom. He didn't know which he was, an old lady or a sissy. And he said as sick as he was, it didn't make any difference. And Bill came back from, he went to Germany on a ship, and he also came back from Germany on a ship. And he said when he came back, he was so sick. He said for 3 or 4 days and nights, he just laid on the deck of the ship and vomited. And he said they cooked a big steak and brought it up there and made him eat it. He said, if you don't eat this, you're going to die. And Bill said he didn't much care if he did die. He felt so bad. But he ate that steak, and he said he was all right then. He just didn't have anything in his stomach, and that cook knew what he needed and made him eat it. But Bill had some funny things that happened. He said that one time they was without fresh eggs for weeks. And they took over a town in France. And they had these chickens in a barn, they called it. But it was a building with a loft floor, and the chickens was up in there. And he went down there and climbed up in that loft to see if he could find some eggs. And he got his helmet full of eggs. And he started back down the ladder, which was just nailed on the outside of the wall. And he said that they began to fire.
The Germans did.
And he said he just turned loose and fell back on the ground. And when he heard some of the boys holler, they got King. But he said when they quit firing, why, he got up and he hadn't broke an egg. Every egg was still intact in that helmet. And then one time CEOs was washing on top of a well or cistern. It's a cistern because the difference between a well and a cistern is the well has groundwater come up in it. And a cistern catches water that runs off of buildings. Well, they was washing, and their old dirty soapy water was running right back down in that cistern. So he told the colonel, and the colonel kind of got mad that a private was telling him what to do. And he told the staff sergeant, and the staff sergeant said, well, I think you ought to go and thank the boy. He said, it makes common sense. You're washing your hands there and the water's running back down in there and you pump it back up and drink it. So they moved their their helmets, because they was washing in helmets. And they moved their helmets and washed somewhere else. But they still used the water out of the cistern. And he was wounded. And he had the Jeep assigned to him. But he had a helper. And when he got wounded, why, the helper drove the Jeep and brought him back to the front lines where he could get help, and they sent him back to England to recuperate. And he had P.